All righty, Mr. Donjay, good to see you again. This is Double Trouble with J and G. My name is Jack, and I am joined by the one and only Gunnar Donjay. And we are here on this sunny, at least in California, Friday afternoon at 5 Central, bringing you banter about art life and everything in between. Gunnar, what you drinking today?
Today I am drinking a tall, cool, crisp PBR.
Nice. A classic, if you will. I am drinking a tall, cool, clear green tea because I'm extremely hungover. So here we are.
Well, fun fact, you know what they call PBR in most parts of the world?
I actually don't. I don't.
Ambrosia of the gods.
That is fascinating. I'm also eating a sandwich because I'm, as I said, hungover. But yeah, I could use some ambrosia of the gods.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. This is
How you doing,
fun
bud?
fact about my apartment. It's on the 4th floor.
Okay.
And no elevator.
Well, that's what you get, I guess. I don't know. I don't know about New York rent, but certainly sounds like something you'd get in San Francisco. Well, you know what? Let's quit beating around the bush. Let's dive right into things today.
Let's do it.
Okay, so you mentioned that you were going to be an RA next year. Can you just walk us through that whole thing? Because I have some thoughts about the RA relationship with residents that varies based on circumstance. But please give us a little background.
Interesting, yeah. So Burbank, the dorm is was once a freshman dorm, and I lived there my freshman year. And when I was around there, it was like half of the kids were in this program called Italic, this arts program, and then half of the kids were just regular freshmen.
Okay.
This year, fun fact, they are changing it to where it's going to be artists from across all 4 years are going to be living there.
So it's like a hippie artist commune in some ways.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So the reason I'm curious with this, and that's why I wanted to kind of deep dive on this topic, is that it seems like there's a strange not Oedipal necessarily, but a strange relationship between RAs and residents, especially when the kids are like the residents are freshmen and the RAs are sort of this older brother or older sister figure. But at the same time, it seems to me that a lot of people have this odd fetishization for their RAs. Have you seen that occur before?
Like a sexualized, so my example wouldn't be great because I had Tony Moeller, and who doesn't?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's just how that goes.
Yeah, no.
And here on Double Trouble with J&G, it's either a reference
or you don't get it. Oh, let's see. Oh, dude, how about this?
Alrighty, you're on our
Zoom call.
Yes, you are.
But yeah, no, I'm excited about being an RA, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to like teaching and mentoring this new crop of people and artists. Not only because like I think like your RAs are like sort of the first upperclassmen that you're introduced to. Ooh.
Oh, we're getting feedback. Oops.
Yeah. But it's also with the art, it's like a cool opportunity to be like, okay, these are artists at Stanford who have gone through the track, who have sort of done it, and now I can look up to them to see how to structure my own arts career.
Beautiful, dude. Beautiful.
Are you having some headphone difficulties?
I am having a little bit of headphone difficulties.
Crazy echo.
Okay. Are we good?
Oh, he's back.
We're back. Can you hear me?
How was that fun trip into the void?
Oh, it's always a good time in the void. I was actually, speaking of which, I was actually in the consumption vortex recently. Have I ever discussed with you the idea of the consumption vortex?
Please tell me.
So the consumption vortex is a classic term branded by the Instagram meme page Friday Beers, which of course I follow an Instagram meme page called Friday Beers. But anyway, the whole point of the vortex, it's sort of like, when you have a night out, right? And you're kind of buzzed and you're like having fun and you're talking to people. And all of a sudden there's sort of a switch flip. That is the essence of the consumption vortex, because the vortex will slowly draw you into a circle of doom, despair, and pain. And this is what the consumption vortex does for you. And the more booze and substances you add to the pile of things, the deeper within the vortex you go.
Oh my God.
Yes, and that is my thesis on the consumption vortex.
So you dove into the consumption vortex last night.
I dove into the consumption vortex, some may say.
Sorry to hear that.
When Jaeger becomes candy-like in flavor, that's when you know you should stop drinking.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Damn, man. But look, you made it through the other side. You broke the threshold.
I'm always here for double trouble with J&G. This is how we roll on Friday afternoons.
Yeah.
Oh man. So Gunnar, we talked a little bit last week about books. And we were talking about some of your favorite books. I would like to propose to you that the Tolkien trilogy of The Lord of the Rings, in addition to The Hobbit, are maybe some of the best books ever written, because they capture something about male friendship that I don't think any other book series has captured, or any other sort of piece of media has accurately captured.
Now, would this be like the equivalent to where a lot of times I say that the show Goosebumps sort of like captures everything you need to know about childhood life? Would you say that Lord of the Rings and Tolkien like captures everything you need to know about brotherhood?
Romance. No, there's something about so, you know, like there's like a movement afoot in the United States, which I think is good. It's healthy. I think a lot of us agree that men are becoming more comfortable with their emotional state, right? They're more comfortable expressing a diverse array of emotions. And I think the Lord of the Rings books do this well, and it's even more noticeable in the movies, the trilogy that, you know, Peter Jackson did. And I think it's that strong male characters will like show emotion, or like will be very like brotherly with each other, and like very familiar with each other, and like hug and like embrace, and like they'll cry, and like there are all these things that like a lot of us don't traditionally associate with these like very strong like really, I don't know, I hate the word alpha male, so I'm not going to use that. Very like powerful male figures. And we don't necessarily associate those powerful male figures in our depictions of media and things like that. But Lord of the Rings gets it right. I really believe that. And I think that's part of the reason for how enduring the trilogy has been, and how enduring those trilogy of movies has been as well. Because Tolkien is the dude.
The man with the plan.
The man with the plan. Also, a kind of a fun fact, he was deeply religious.
Tolkien?
Very much so. He and C.S. Lewis were actually great friends at Oxford, and they drank together in the same pub. They formed a little writers club, and both of them actually wrote several, I think, essays. I think the right way to qualify those. They wrote several essays on like religion and their religious beliefs. They were like very devout Christians.
Oh my God.
Well, things you didn't know about your favorite authors, but you know, here we are. I
You know,
also think
J.K.
George R. R.
Rowling.
Martin's J.K. Rowling. She's a little crazy, isn't she? She's like a billionaire.
She was well, she thought she was this ordinary kid, but then one night a scar came up on her head, and her parents got killed, and she started wearing a bat costume. I forgot how the story goes, but she became a wizard.
She became a vigilante too.
Vigilantism, pro or con?
What's up?
Vigilantism, are you in it? Are you out?
Interesting. That's a fucking question. I'm not opposed. I mean, and yeah, it's like it really depends, right? Like you see sort of, I guess the pro vigilante argument is very much like Batman, right? Like it's a crime-ridden, corrupt city, and someone's got to go out there and clean up the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just is what it is. But I think it's very circumstantial, right? Like you wouldn't want vigilantes running around the streets of, you know, San Francisco, like just beating the crap out of people. That seems wholly unproductive. But if there's like well, I mean, this kind of exists. So at least in the United Kingdom, I don't know if it's a thing in the US. There are these people that are like volunteer pedophile hunters, and they'll help the cops set up sting operations, and their whole goal is to like take as many pedophiles as possible off the streets and put them in jail and get them like as registered sex offenders and stuff. Yeah, it's crazy, and like it works. There are people that have done this for like years, and they've put away like dozens of pedophiles.
Now, okay, so this is the counter argument. There is a classical piece of film that is probably one of the best films ever made, called The Dark Knight. And in The Dark Knight, early on in the film, there's sort of like a warning against vigilanteism, where everyone tries to be this sort of like copycat like hero. And
Sure.
Sometimes it takes the skills of a professional, and through vigilanteism we can sometimes get in the way of things happening. Too many cooks in the kitchen, one might say, when all you need is that sous chef.
Yeah, there definitely is something to be said about that. Like, you don't want, because it's sort of a way of having anarchy reign somehow. Because when you don't have, I mean, I guess I should probably walk this back and say, vigilantism is probably not a good thing, because if we're gonna purport to believe in the due process of law and a well-ordered society, then vigilantes are not. That's pretty antithetical to what we believe. Then, if that's what we truly do believe,
I can't help but hear the law and think of none other than George the Law Younger.
Oh my God,
George, I am the law. But let me tell you,
the least intimidating person I know.
Someone who could not lay down the law that year.
Absolutely not.
I am okay right now. I'm experiencing one of the most horrifying things ever. I'm in 2 Zoom meetings because the art department is having this exhibition.
Wow.
And so
this is a buck wild
dude, this is
of stuff.
I feel like I'm watching a horror movie, and right before the bad guy jumps out at you, because I'm watching all of these people very intensely watching this very serious body of art and talk about it.
And we're talking about Batman.
And I'm really just expecting my mic to just turn on at some point, and then them hear me talking about fucking Batman.
So if we're gonna pivot to art more, would you ever do any art involving Batman? Because obviously you really like those movies, and we know each other pretty well. I know that you really like those movies. So would you ever consider that as part of your art canon?
I painted Batman once for one painting.
Would you ever consider a series around Batman?
No. I think in general, I'm trying to move away from explicit pop culture references.
Gotcha. Okay.
And to, more and more, I want to develop a sort of vocabulary of my own in terms of visual images.
So is this all part of, obviously you are the artsy one and I'm the not artsy one, and we're bantering about art life and everything in between here.
Everything in between.
So, and we're going deep into the art. So I'm going to pretend I am Joe Rogan asking dumb questions of an expert in this case. So do you develop your own kind of you can kind of self-reference previous works or that kind of thing? How do you begin to build your sort of your portfolio as in your image as an artist?
Yeah. I think it's weird because when I first started noticing it, it was just I'd noticed certain things and forms start to pop up. I noticed the way I painted this piano looked a lot like the way I painted this edge of a gate once, Wow. And it's little things like that will start to come up, and you'll start to recognize the hallmarks of your own style. But eventually it'll become okay, so this is sort of, a character who keeps coming up, and it might not be the same person, but it'll be sort of be a similar figure. You know what I mean?
They have the same traits in many ways.
Yeah. So in a lot of my paintings, I have that sort of that heroine figure,
Yes, definitely.
So
the heroine figure's there a lot. I could see it. There's 7 heroin figures and they have the heads of dogs.
In the last episode, we talked about that woman who came into my show and just like ripped it apart.
Lambasted your entire show.
She was very much, she's like, you should paint beautiful women. I see that you have the eye for it. You should just paint Marilyn Monroe. And I'm like, you have no idea what I painted right before this.
Yeah, she had no clue you painted a lot of beautiful women.
You know,
and a lot of you painted girlfriends before too, which I thought was like a pretty interesting. What drove you to wanting to paint a girlfriend in a painting? Because like, at least for me, I would be, if I was in your position, I would probably be intimidated to do something like that. So like, kind of what gave you the for lack of a better term, the balls to be able to do that?
It started off in art school where like you need a model for a painting and your girlfriend's just there. And it's like,
that's also so flattering too.
Oh yeah. And then like at first, like I think the early ones that I painted, they were like super stoked to be painted, and they were like, oh, this is so romantic. This is like,
absolutely.
An artist and his muse. Later on, as I kept dating people less and less wanted to be painted because they don't want to be just one of those muses.
Interesting.
So it's like it's probably like a late Picasso wife, like no one wants to be, or I don't know if no one, like I think people still find it very flattering, but who wants to be like the 6th Picasso wife that ends up being a painting?
Yeah, I mean, that also seems to me to be like as you've gotten older and like as the people you've dated have also gotten older, that seems like a maturity thing, like it seems very like surface level romantic and whatever to be, an artist's muse. But really, it's not about you, it's about the art.
Yeah.
And once people kind of realize that, then I think that kind of takes away some of the magic. It's like you're not painting, you're painting the person, you're not painting their like personality,
Yeah. You're really painting yourself is what's happening. It's sort of a selfish act in a way.
Explain more. You're painting yourself. Why?
How? Yeah. So you as the artist, every painting is in some way a self-portrait. You're putting into these ideas. You're developing this concept that's revolving around something that you've been thinking about. And so when you're placing figures within a composition and you're painting them, it's very much a construction of your own mind, in a way, a construction of yourself, So while you might be like trying to capture someone's image or someone's beauty, I feel like you're capturing it, but you're posing them. It's like an actress, right? You're like, you might find a beautiful actress and want to like make a film, but the character you write for them is very much something that you've written,
That's fascinating.
So that's my little take on it.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Can I ask you from a very personal standpoint, and for our listeners, Madeline Kahn is my second favorite painting that Gunner's ever done. Is Madeline Kahn still available?
Madeline Kahn is available. And in fact, I just brought it to the gallery. So we might have to have some after hours
talk later.
Negotiations.
Yeah, I might if she's still unsold by the end of the summer and I've collected a couple paychecks, we might talk. So yeah. And for those of you that don't know, I have one of Gunner's works. I'm a huge fan of his painting. Please go check it out. It's lovely. And it speaks to me because I think having a personal relationship with an artist makes the work all the richer. And I can see like little pieces of, now that you mentioned, I can see little pieces of Gunner Danger in every Danger painting,
Yeah, and it's one thing to be like, being there for the creation of it and watching it come together, So it's interesting that the two that you like the most are the ones that you've actually seen come together.
I get to see you paint. Yeah, that's as a lover of art and the arts and the humanities and all of those things that I think really make us human, which is why I think they're called the humanities. I really don't know. I just kind of made that up.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And I come from like a very STEMmy background and very like technical background, but I think having an appreciation for all those things is vital to who we are as people. But coming from that perspective and really looking at art as a, relatively from basically the untrained eye, good art speaks to the untrained eye.
Yeah.
It doesn't require you to have this vast knowledge of, you know, some fucking like deep references to different works and shit. And that's why I think the Mona Lisa is like the greatest painting ever, right? It speaks to every person that views it.
I think it's like a pool, right? You step in, or maybe you dip your toes, and some paintings are just the perfect temperature, you know? And the only difference
Absolutely.
between painting to painting is how deep the pool is. Some paintings are the perfect temperature and you can just keep diving and go deeper and deeper and deeper. Some are pretty shallow. Some are just a little puddle. That was nice to feel.
I feel like a lot of nature art is that way. But but certain nature art, like landscapes, for example, I think landscapes are fascinating. So landscapes, though, painting a sunny day in a landscape to me is a lazy choice. Why would you paint a sunny day?
It's an uncomplicated.
I want cloud fronts and conflicted like storms and stuff. You know, I want interest, and there's so much that can be explored in a landscape. There's so much about the character of the land. Like if you're truly in tune with the land that you're painting, you're probably not going to choose to paint a sunny day.
You're going to paint it at its, you know. Well, I think it's like candid photos, right? It's like the staged photos, like capture like the physical features, but
it's the sunny day of pictures.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's those stormy sort of moments that you learn a lot more.
Or like even just gray. So like, you know, as you know, being from the Northwest, it's not sunny a ton, right? It's not always sunny. And the best landscapes that I've seen painted of where I'm from are, the sky is just this steel gray. And it's the steel gray that all winter it is. Like it's steel gray like the entire time. And the way that people can express color in those times, and if they can get the color right, like how it would actually appear on a cloudy day, that takes infinitely more skill in my mind than just painting a sunny day and like having all bright colors and shit and whatever. That's not nuanced enough. It's not the land speaking to you. It's just your little, it's like snapping a photo, you know. It's like it is what it is. It's not conflicted. There's not nuance to it.
Nuance and depth.
There's no nuance and depth here.
Damn, we've managed to cover art, life, and a lot of things in between.
I think we have. Anyway, so you wanted to talk about, we do have, contrary to popular belief, we do prepare for these shows.
We do. We got nuts.
Experimental music live.
Dude, okay.
Tell me more.
So I feel like the last couple of times I've hit you guys with some like crazy theories, but I have a theory about experimental music.
Okay.
So this is my theory, right? So I think, you know, for a little bit of background, an experimental like improv set, right? It could be anything, but it's just something that's like, you know, you'll hear it once and you'll never hear that exact performance ever again, right? Because it's sort of made up on the spot. They're feeling off the audience.
Improv, basically.
It's improv, but it's you know, but anyway, but experimental performances in particular are not, you know, whereas like an improv jazz set might like take riffs and things from jazz standards or things like that.
Yes.
The experimental sets that I've seen have, you know, sort of entirely been original compositions, right?
Okay.
So I think that watching an experimental set, watching something that has never been before seen and will never be reproduced, right? Probably isn't recorded because it's like an hour long, right? Those little moments that you have within that set where you have like these little revelations, or if it's impactful, like you feel a certain way, it's like those will never be reproduced, and those will never, like, because it's not recorded and you like can't find it anywhere. And
interesting.
And so I was like, damn, I really need to go to as many of these things as I can see, and then, you know, collect all of these moments and these insights, because if I don't, right, that moment and that insight I can never obtain.
You can never capture. Well, that speaks almost to a deep-seated love for ephemera, right?
Yeah.
And these sort of experiences that you will never feel ever again. And that's kind of the theme of softcore, isn't it?
Oh yeah, damn
Is,
right.
I mean, if we wanted to
No,
really tie it back into your art,
you really know
yeah,
the show.
all intimate moments
Mhm.
where just that you'll never capture again. They're gone.
Yeah.
They just off into the atmosphere. Wow, that's an artist's take on art. All right, goddamn. Okay.
Yeah,
Gunnar
dude.
Danger, ladies and gentlemen, Gunnar Danger.
Well, speaking of softcore, I just closed it up, dude. It was
You
crazy.
did? Okay, so softcore is no more.
Softcore no more. That's crazy.
So how was the how were the results of the show? Were you satisfied?
I
How
was
did you have it?
satisfied. I was satisfied. It was like, I think like the hours were like a bit strange. We didn't like have it on the weekends or late at nights. So it
Okay.
was mostly like weekdays. So like foot traffic was interesting, whereas
Gotcha.
mostly like
Okay.
window shoppers. But the opening and the events that we did have were really nice. And people
Awesome.
responded to the works. You remember the Devil's Dance painting that I had?
I do remember the Devil's Dance painting. Did you sell that?
No, dude, but so many people responded positively to it. And like
Oh yeah.
so many like high thinking, like, this weird French DJ, these like,
Weird French
artsy
DJ.
type people.
That feels like a whole story in and of itself.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But the people who like I was looking for their interest and their approval, they really responded to it. Whereas like when I was painting it, there was definitely a moment where I could feel like in the house where I was like, it's done. And people were like, it's done? What?
Yeah, we were all so baffled. Yeah, so for context, go check out Gunner's painting The Devil's Dance. I'm sure it's on your Instagram, which is in your bio on Clubhouse. It's essentially, there's like we don't have to go into the whole thing. Essentially like sort of a blue circle, and then like
Mhm.
Diego stickers are dancing around it, but it's all painted black. So it's like a very monochromatic, with the exception of this blue circle, a very monochromatic painting.
Mhm.
And I thought it was hilarious, but I thought you were gonna add more shit to it. Like we're all watching you, Joaquin and I are watching you paint this thing, and we're like, it's done? Like what? There's
Yeah.
where are the people? Like, cause your figures are incredible. Like the people that you paint I love. Right. And I'm like, you're not gonna paint me people, you're just gonna put some fucking Diego stickers on this shit and it's like spray paint it black and that's it.
Yeah.
What the
Yeah.
hell?
I'm usually a maximalist, like in
Mhm.
bright colors and tons of
Yes.
figures and loaded up compositions. And this one was the most sparse image I've ever created. Just one
Absolutely.
blue glowing ring. And then these stickers that I then painted over black. So like all black and one blue ring.
And that's it. That's the whole painting. Yeah, that
That's
was I don't know how often that happens for artists, but like when you really break from your bread and butter and you go into like a totally different direction.
Yeah.
Are there any artists, or like is there anything that like the untrained viewer or listener could go to see like an example of maybe how one of those splinter works totally changed an artist's career because they just ran down this other path? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. That's such a good. Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna think on that idea, and I'll bring it for next episode. I think that'll be a
That's
good
an
idea.
excellent idea. I think we should explore that more deeply, because I think a lot of
Yeah,
times, like to bring it to sports, something I probably understand a little bit better than art is
yeah,
sometimes a batter will be swinging a certain way for a while, and they'll have like the same results, but then they change one little thing about their swing, and their batting average jumps like appreciably.
well,
They'll start hitting the ball like 10% more often.
a recent example, the young man named Derrick Rose, who is now 32 years old, like rookie year, almost won the MVP on the Bulls. I don't, he
Yep.
might have actually won it, but or maybe it was his second year or something. Brought the Bulls to the playoffs, right? Horrific knee injury. And by the time he got back, the game had changed. It was all 3-point shots. This dude was
Yeah.
like quick and fast in the paint and like could
Yep.
slip around people. But when his knee went out, like totally ruined his game.
Sure.
He had to totally rebuild his style of play and develop a 3-point shot. And now he's on the Knicks, and they just beat the Hawks game 2. So now they're in
The Knicks
playoff
won a
contention.
playoff game, which
Yeah,
blowing
hasn't happened
everyone's
since like
mind right now.
2013, something
I
like
have
that,
no idea. Well,
2009.
you're also in New York for this, so this is going to be wow. This is I'm sure the
And the
city's
Nets,
popping right now.
the Brooklyn Nets, they're also in the playoffs, and they're
Which
crazy.
also doesn't make sense. Yeah, basketball in New York is not a great place to be.
Well, anyway,
as you know, we always finish exactly at 3:30. We always finish on time. We go not a minute longer. This has been Double Trouble with J&G. My name is Jack. I'm joined by
Gunnar Danger.
And every Friday at 5 Central, we come to you and banter about art, life, and everything in between, often with a couple fingers of bourbon in our glass.
Right on.
All right, y'all. Have a great
Peace.
Friday.